Okay, welcome to our last construction management lecture. Um, Pretty sad that we don't get to do this one in person. This is one of my favorite times to just talk to you and share some thoughts as we kind of close up and wrap up the semester. I hope that you guys have learned a lot this semester and that you've been able to take some things that will help you in your career. And that it has been a beneficial class for you, that at least you've taken a few things, and hopefully after today's lecture you might take a few more things that you might remember from this class and also from me as a professor. But I did get to, I did enjoy getting to know you this semester, and for those of you seniors that are graduating, I'm really sad that we don't get to see your graduation this year and be able to see you and your families. That's one of my favorite things as well, is being able to see how proud your families are of you for the hard work that you guys put in. And so in terms of just kind of things for wrapping up the semester, if you finish up your stretch assignment, go ahead and email that in to me. Just email it in your 2-page paper on what you did, what you learned, and some thoughts from that, and then I'll give you credit for that. It's not on Learning Suite, it's just turn it in via email is fine. Sometime before the final exam is all I ask you there. Also, fill out the student evaluations as well. I know it's kind of been a mixed semester in terms of being taught online and other things, but I appreciate feedback and just thoughts that you might have, and then I'll give you 5 points extra credit for filling that out, for helping me to become a better teacher. So I appreciate that. And so your final review, I want to go over your final review quick so that you have an idea of what to study. And so I've posted it on Learning Suite. I'll show you where it's at here. So I moved the lectures up so you can get to them quickly. And then under CFM 415 Winter 2020 Final Review, it's right there. I've already opened it in another tab, so I'll open it up over here. Let me do this. So here is your final review. Let me change the view to one page, and then I'll lift it up a little bit, and we'll go through some of this. So the final has about 70 true false / multiple choice questions on it, and then another 40 or so fill in the blank questions. So it's pretty robust, and it is a comprehensive final exam for the whole class. And so you're going to demonstrate all of the knowledge that you learned this semester. And there's a lot of information, and hopefully you took good notes, and you go back and you review your meeting minutes, review the PowerPoints that have been posted. Those are great ways to study. And so if you took good notes in class, that's a great way to study. So as you review, kind of know that we went from the beginning of a project all the way through the end of a project, and covered a lot of things along the way. And so I'll kind of go through this and just hit some key points. Just in general, if I wrote it on the board, it was probably important enough for me to want you to write it down. So that's probably a good thing to review. Review the handouts and the readings that were given in our class notes, and review your meeting minutes. They will be your biggest aid in studying. So know what the definition of project management is, and know the definition of a project, what makes a project. We talked about that at the beginning of the semester. Know the different types of projects and delivery methods, and the contractual relationships. So like design, bid, build, design, build, integrated project delivery, cost plus with a GMP, or construction management at risk, and construction management agency. Those are all things that we've talked about in terms of the different kind of the projects, know how the players relate in each of those delivery methods, and kind of what those relationships are. Then how to deal with scope, schedule, and resources, kind of that matrix that we talked about, and what you should plan as a project manager, what's most important to the owner, and how you balance those in terms of making decisions. Know our discussions on meetings and meeting minutes, what goes on, what should be included, why they're important, what meetings are important, who should be in meetings, things like that. And then the different project team members and their roles and responsibilities. So project management, superintendents, project engineers, field engineers, architects, owners, engineers, designers, consultants, those things, know their different responsibilities. Look at the goals of staffing when you're staffing a project, how many people you should be putting on a project, and why you should put people on a project. And the construction documents, know that plans and specifications, those are your two main elements of your contract documents. Different bid forms, bid information, bid requirements, and then your common CSI divisions. So if I were to ask you what division is masonry in, you would say Division 4. Doors and windows, Division 8, finishes, Division 9, and so forth. Know those common ones that we talked about in terms of our Construction Specifications Institute divisions. And then the AIA documents. So some of the ones we talked about is the AIA 101, the A201, the A701, and then the G701, which is change orders, G702 and G703, which is your payment applications, and then your G704, which is your certificate of substantial completion. So know what those are and understand the RFI process, how that goes together, how that works, and know about purchasing and subcontracting, buyout, how you write purchase orders, things that should be included in purchase orders, things that you should include in your subcontract scope of work, and things that you shouldn't include in your subcontracts as well. Submittals is another big thing that we talked about. Know what the process of submittals is, how that kind of flows, and then examples of different kinds of submittals like product data, shop drawings, mixed designs, samples. Those are all different types of submittals. Know why submittals are important, who prepares them, and who reviews them. Then we talked about job site organization, kind of how you come onto a job site, being able to do a job site layout plan, how you stage a project, how you get people on the project, parking, offices, haul roads, different things that you're considering when you are dealing with coming onto a project, how you're organizing it to make sure that it's going to work efficiently, how you might deal with site constraints, materials handling, things like that. You also need to review the 1-minute manager reading. There might be some questions on that, more generalized questions. Nothing specific like people's names or anything, but you should know the general concepts of that. And then the leadership and self-deception reading, which you should have done as well. There will be a question on or a few questions on the exam about the leadership and self-deception reading. So there will be multiple questions on that. Then we talked about record keeping and the different types of documents to keep. Job logs, daily logs, document or your drawing logs, as-built drawings, things like that, why we keep documents, the importance of keeping documents. We also talked about subcontractor relationships, dealing with problem subcontractors, how to deal with problems, how to keep good relationships with subcontractors and the importance of keeping those good relationships, and how to deal with subcontractors if they default or if they're struggling. Then we talked about the change order process, kind of who issues the change orders, how they're created, the different types of documents that might initiate a change order, and then what to do with them, who approves change orders. We also had a discussion on productivity, labor costs, what impacts productivity, overtime versus extra shifts, production versus productivity, kind of understanding the difference between those two. So I would say, and our speaker from McCarthy gave some overtime points. I would generally say that working overtime becomes less effective after about 6 weeks. That's the most common for if you're going to have people working overtime. If you do it longer than 6 weeks, their productivity is probably going to start to diminish. They're starting to get burned out and probably need a break from working overtime. So just remember 6 weeks for that. Our guest speakers from Oakland and McCarthy and from our subcontractors, remember their discussions, kind of review the notes there. And then quality control versus quality assurance, what the difference is there. Know things that impact quality, reasons why we have poor quality, and how we can improve quality on our projects. And then understand the different types of unions, different types of shops, kind of the union contractor agreement, and how unions are organized, the different players in the union, journeymen, helpers, apprentices, things like that, some of the rules that they have. And then we talked about claim management and claim dispute resolution. That's litigation, negotiation, arbitration, mediation, know the difference of those. And then time management and problem solving, review those lectures for tips that we talked about there. And then in terms of cost control, kind of our last section of the class that we've talked about, understand the relationship between budgeted cost of work performed, budgeted cost of work scheduled, actual cost of work performed, and then estimate at completion. Review the cost control assignment and how to do those problems, because you'll be asked some on those and how those relationships relate. And then you have the pay application process. So how pay apps work, how the billing goes, how we bill in construction, review that lecture. And then closeout, in terms of what goes on during closeout, when you should be planning it, who's doing the punch list, operations and maintenance manuals, building turnover, substantial completion, certificate of occupancy, know the differences there and why those are important. And then we talked about organizational project management. That was kind of knowing the culture of the company that you're working in. We talked about the 4 different types of culture in that matrix there that we had, and being able to say, what does success look like in this company? And then finally, we talked about reviewing the project, closeout and project review, looking at employee appraisals, kind of the good, the bad, what they should be, what they shouldn't be, and the value in doing that is really important. And so from a final review standpoint, those are the things that you should focus on. I know there's a lot of information there because we went over a lot this semester, but as you get into your notes, you'll be able to kind of focus on these items that I've listed here. That's your final review. And so we're going to switch, and I'm going to talk a little bit about leadership and self-deception, some of the thoughts that I took from the book. Normally, I break you into groups again, and you guys share some of the thoughts that you had in terms of what you read in leadership and self-deception, and then we go over it as a class in this lecture, so we're missing out on that a little bit. I know I've heard from some of you that you really enjoyed the book and have learned some good things. For me, it was one of the most probably beneficial books that I've ever read. It's changed the way that I probably deal with people more than anything that I've read, and just how I see people in terms of letting myself view other people in a different light, recognizing that my view of them is not always what's going on in their life, and being empathetic for that. And so just kind of some of the things that I took from leadership and self-deception is hold people to high standards. When you hold people to high standards, then they'll usually achieve them. Kind of when we had Shannon jump over a little ruler in class, when we talked about expectations, if we set low expectations to people, they'll reach those low expectations. But if we set high expectations, they'll achieve a lot more. And so set those standards high for people. And then we can tell a lot about how other people feel about us. Be invested in other people. When you're leading people, when you're managing people, if you don't really care about them, they know it. They can really easily feel that. And a lot of people will end up leaving their boss, not their job. Their job they like, their boss they don't. And if you're not invested in your people and you're not sincere about it, people know it. They'll know it and they'll call you out on it, or they won't perform for you. And so be truly interested in other people. Give of yourself and say, how can I make these other people successful? That will make you successful. They will in turn help you if you're truly invested in them. Another thing that I really like from the book is treat people like people, not like objects. He uses the airplane example where, he puts up the paper and kind of dares people to sit by him. He was viewing other people as threats to his comfort, as opposed to another example where someone gave up the seat so that a husband and wife could sit together. View people like people. Don't just view them as what can that person do for me, or how can I benefit? Why would I have any relationship with that person if I'm not going to benefit from it? View people as people. Give them the opportunity to succeed and to do good. And you'll find your opinion changes a lot when you view them as people, whether it's somebody cutting you off when you're driving. Just think, well, maybe they got somewhere better to be than I do. Being able to change your mindset's important. Another thing is, do you know people's names? Don't be one of those people that says, oh, I'm terrible with names. I probably won't remember your name anyways. Don't ever tell somebody that, even if you are bad with names. Don't tell someone, oh, I'm terrible with names, because that's just telling them you don't matter enough for me to remember you. Try to get better at it. Really try to remember people's names. If you get good at remembering people's names and things about them, your network will grow incredibly, and people will want to be around you. And that's something that's really impactful when you have that opportunity to know people. Your doors will open. And so look for opportunities to get better at knowing people's names. In the book, it talks about the guy yelling at the secretary and he didn't even know her name. Know people's names. That's an important principle. And if you know their name, it shows that you're interested in them as a person. And so other things that I like from the book, right things can be done in the wrong way. I remember I had a teacher in 9th grade she was a history teacher, and I walked in and she was wearing an outfit that was similar to that of what I would call a flight attendant. And I might have said something to the effect of that as a 14-year-old kid, and she kind of got a little bit snippy with me and said something like, I don't know, but I can show you the door. And I kind of laughed or whatever. And then later in the class period, I asked a question, and she just looked at me and she goes, "Tone, Mr. Weidman." It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I was like, what just happened? I was shocked. I didn't know where that was coming from, but that lesson has always stuck from me. That I must have said something in a wrong tone. And it wasn't necessarily what I said, but how I said it. And sometimes we can do right things in a wrong way. Just whether it's our motive or our tone or whatever that might be, that might come into play sometimes for you. Another thing, do people like working for you or with you? Question yourself on that. Are you the type of person that people like working with or for? That's something to think about. Another one is follow your impressions. Probably the biggest thing that I got from this book was the example of when the husband was laying in bed with the wife and the baby starts crying, and his first impression is to get up. And he ignores the impression, and then he kind of starts vilifying his wife, saying, why isn't she getting up? I'm tired, and everything else, where he just didn't follow his first impression. And to me, that's the spirit in a lot of cases. And after I had read this book the first time, I shared this book with my wife, and it saved me because we were moving and we had a little 3-year-old, and I had left a Sharpie out. And my wife walked by the Sharpie and was like, oh, I should move that because we have a 3-year-old, and she didn't. And lo and behold, the 3-year-old gets the Sharpie and draws on the table. And my wife was like, I wanted to be mad at you so bad, but I couldn't because I had the impression that I should move it and I didn't. And I was like, yes, saved by the book. So think about that though. When we get those impressions, the more we follow those impressions, the more we'll receive them. I think President Monson was a great example of that, being able to follow impressions that he received. And I think if you do that, and if it's good, and if you're questioning whether it's the spirit or not, if it's good, just do it. Whether it's, oh, I should call this person, or I should write a note to this person, or I should buy this person lunch. Just follow those impressions. You'll find that you'll get a lot of good out of that. And so those are kind of some of those things that I like from the book. I also like when he says, don't justify your bad behavior, just fix it. Take responsibility for yourself. Take responsibility for your actions and what you're doing. And so hopefully you had a chance to think about some of the thoughts that you read in the book, and that you're able to impact some lessons that you like, that you're able to pull a couple of leadership principles out of there, or just life principles out of it as well. And so those are things that that I hope you get out of the book. I think it's a valuable book for leaders and for managers to look at every now and then, so that you can kind of do a self-evaluation of where you're at. Now, for the last part of this class, this last section here, we're going to move on to what I call Weidman's words of wisdom. It's kind of my last little share for you in terms of what I hope you'll take from me. And so I'll leave this with you. I posted this on Learning Suite as well by the Final Exam Review. I usually hand these out to you. And for those that have had my class before, usually I give you a little card that says you got a wanna on it, and I'll talk about that here in a minute, why that's important to me. But I have enjoyed this class. I appreciate your work in this class and your willingness to learn, your willingness to be here at BYU, because it's a special place. And I hope that you realize that. And the more you come back to BYU after you've graduated, the more you'll realize what a special place it is. And for me, teaching this class, it's my favorite class to teach just because of the different things that we get to do and different lessons that I hope that you learn and that I get to learn from you. But I wish you luck in all that you do, and I hope that you achieve all the goals that you set for yourself as you go out and as you work hard. And I hope it's not just professionally that you're successful, but also in your families and in your personal life. So a few final thoughts to leave with you here. The first one is you gotta wanna. Now, if there's nothing else that you remember from Brother Weidman um, ever, it's 3 words. Just you gotta wanna. If that's all that you ever remember from me, then I'm really happy. And you gotta wanna is important to me. That's something that's been a family motto of mine forever. Ever since I was born, I've been seeing you gotta wanna around my house. It's something my dad preached to us as kids. And kind of the story behind you gotta wanna is my dad one time was sitting in his room and his dad walks in, and his dad didn't talk to him much. His dad was really older in life when he had my dad, and he was a farmer from Switzerland and didn't talk a whole lot, but he just came in and he gave him a piece of paper, an 8x10 piece of paper framed that said, you gotta want it. My dad's like, well, what is this, but what it's come to mean for us in our family is it's all about attitude. If you want to do something, it's so much easier. Everything is easier when you want to do something. So instead of saying, I have to go to work, say, I want to go to work. Instead of saying, I have to go to this meeting, I want to go to this meeting. Or I have to go serve, or I have to go to this bishopric meeting or this church meeting or whatever it might be. If you say, I want to go, everything's easier. If you just change your attitude, you can't control everything, but you can control your attitude. You can change your attitude from saying, oh, I have to I want to. And if you do that, everything becomes less of a burden. Everything is easier. You can't always choose your job, and you can't always choose what the responsibilities of your job are, but you can choose your attitude towards those jobs. And that's something that I think is important. And be willing to accept hard assignments. Be willing to accept things that are difficult and say, you know what, I want to do this. I want to stretch myself. I want to learn. And if you do that, you'll see great benefits from it. My dad had a can in his office, like a soup can. And this was something that was really, I don't know, just stuck with me growing up in life because I'd see it on his desk all the time in his office. But this soup can, the label said, success comes in cans, not in cannots. I don't know why that stuck with me, but I think it's important to have a positive attitude to say, I can do this. And when I went and interviewed with the company that I ended up signing with out of college, the president of the company that I went to work for had the same can on his desk. And that just kind of showed me this is the place where I wanted to work. And so that was something that was important to me. And so, but just again, success comes in cans. I can, you can, we can. So be positive in your attitude and what you're learning. Number 2 is never let them hear you swear. And so when I left BYU, I promised myself that I would never let anybody at work hear me swear. And that's hard, especially in construction, where the common language, it is just all over the place. And a lot of times when something goes wrong, because you're around it so much, your first thought sometimes ends up being a swear word. And not being able to let that come out of your mouth is really tough. And I remember one time I was really upset and I said pissed. And my superintendent just looks at me and he goes, never heard you talk like that before. And I was kind of taken back. I was like, oh, sorry. To me, that wasn't a swear word, but I was still recognizing that they watch you. People watch you. People hire you from BYU because you're different. Now, the first thing most of you gentlemen are going to go out and do is grow a beard and stop shaving and grow your hair out and whatever else just because you can. I would encourage you to stay different. Stay different. They hire you because you're different. They hire you because you're clean cut, because you're of a different standard than most of the world. Stay different. Be an example for the young men and young women in your wards. Be an example for those neighbors around you. Don't just do what the world's doing. Stay different. You represent that in your language and in your grooming and the way that you conduct business. Be honest. Do what's right. People will recognize why you're different. And so I'd encourage you to do that. Raise the bar for yourself. Number 3, people are the key. John Wooden, who was a famous basketball coach, often stressed, if you're not on a great team, you don't get a chance to star. It works the same as in business as in basketball. Associate yourself with great people and you'll reach your potential. Also, treat people like people, not objects. Networking is the key. Learn to do it. It's an art. The people you surround yourself with will dictate your success. Surround yourself with good people. You don't always have to be the best, but if you surround yourself with the best, they will raise you up. Surround yourself with good people, and some of those good people can be your support staff. Get to know people's names. Treat people like people, especially secretaries, telemarketers, anybody. Treat them like people. Have you ever tried to remember a telemarketer's name and use it throughout the conversation? The tone of their voice changes. You can see how that affects them. And they're much more helpful when they feel like you care about them as a person enough to remember their name. Number 4 is show up. Nothing happens unless you show up. Pick up the phone, walk through the door, send an email. Sending an email or text is probably the last and least effective sometimes. Don't be afraid to just walk into somebody's office. If you need an answer or you need something, show up where they're at. It's a lot harder for them to ignore you when you're there. And you get to build that personal relationship, but show up. Without taking action, you aren't going to get the results you want. You say, well, I sent an email. Well, that's not good enough. Go get things done. Go show up, get it done. Sometimes you're going to have to do it yourself. And if you want it done, you're not always going to be able to rely on other people to do it. Just go do it. I often talk about the STP principle, which is the same 10 people. The same 10 people do everything, right? Same 10 people are there setting up chairs every week at church. The same 10 people are showing up to all the activities, the ward activities, the same thing. They do things because they show up and they are rewarded for it. Be one of the 10 people. Be one of the people that shows up and actually does things. Be a doer. Don't expect things to be given to you. Expect to say, you know what, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to show up. I'm going to walk through that door and I'm going to be the beneficiary of being in person. So that's a valuable thing that I hope you get. Number 5 is work at something that you love. Nothing is more boring than going to work each day where you're looking at your watch saying, oh, 3 more hours. I just can't wait till this day's over. Oh, goodness, 2 more hours. Don't go to work like that. You're going to feel like you're serving a sentence in time. Just go to work and love what you do. Find something you love to do, and it's not hard to be there. Yes, you're not going to love every single thing about your job, but enjoy the challenges that you're facing. Go there and be excited. Be happy to do what you're doing. If you don't love it, go find something that you do love. Go find something that you're passionate about. Don't just serve time in your job, and don't wish your time away. Don't say, oh, things are going to be better when I'm a project manager. Things are going to be better when I'm at this level or on this job. Make it better today. Change your attitude and make it, just put your head down and work. Don't say, oh, things are going to be better in 3 years when I've got this. No, make it better today. Um, and work at something that you love. It's important. Make today the first day of the rest of your life. Say, I got this. I'm going to do this today, and I'm going to do a great job of it today. Don't worry about so much what's going on in the future. If you put your head down and work, I promise you good things will happen. And doors will open for you that you had no idea were going to be there. But if you go looking for every open door, you're going to walk through a lot you don't want to. So just put your head down and work. Number 6 is be humble. You don't know very much. None of us really do. And you're going out into an industry and you have a lot to learn. And the companies that are paying you too much money. You're probably not worth all the money that they're paying you. They're paying to train you. Be humble, right? Look outside yourself. Ask questions. Look to learn. Be grateful for the opportunities and be willing to receive correction and to learn things. Be grateful for your time here at BYU. Don't say, oh, I earned all of this. No, be humble. Be grateful for what you've got. BYU is a special place. I never realized that till I was in a math class. And the math teacher once mentioned that she prayed for us. I was really taken back by that. I was like, you pray for us? We do. We pray for you. We want you to be successful, not just here at the university, but in life. We know you struggle. We know you have challenges. We know you're learning. We pray for you to be successful as your faculty. Be grateful for that opportunity to be at a place where that happens. Number 7, give them 5. Take the opportunity to learn from the company that gives you a shot. Don't just look to job hop. Don't say, well, this is boring. Give them time at your company, right? Let them train you. Give them the investment that they've put in you. Give them that opportunity for you to learn. Your first job might be terrible. Your first project might be terrible, but maybe you go on to your next project and it's an amazing opportunity. Don't just look to move every year or every other year. Look for opportunity to build yourself, build your foundation and understanding, and the jobs will come later. Give them their investment by being loyal. And by being loyal to companies, your rewards will come. The money will come. Look for experience instead of money. That's the number one thing I can give you there in terms of job advice is go for the experience instead of the money every time, because the money will come. Number 8 is stretch yourself. Take time to do more than you think you can. Doing things you think you can't do builds confidence, and it also provides more balance than you would think. So usually I have you come in and talk to me about your stretch assignment one-on-one, and just kind of share with me what you did. And I give some advice in those one-on-one sessions. And I strongly believe in the idea of stretch assignments. As you go throughout your career, you need to find things that stretch you. You need to find things that you enjoy doing and that will help you to grow. And sometimes that stretch assignment might be for yourself. You might say, you know what, I'm going to go play City League softball. And you just join a team and you play once or twice a week and you find out that you love it. And it's a couple hours a week. And yeah, it's away from your family maybe, but maybe that gives you the opportunity to meet new people. It builds your life network. Maybe you're talking to the person on first base and you say, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm a mechanic. Well, I need a mechanic. Or, oh, I'm a plumber. Well, I need a plumber. Can you give me a bid on my next project? And those things happen because you're out there. And sometimes they're for you, right? Sometimes it's, I just really love playing softball, or I really love playing flag football, or whatever it is. And you go and join a league and you do that, and it's a release for you. Other times it might be for somebody else. Maybe you're going to coach your little kid's t-ball team, and you give back to the community that way. For the past 4 years, I coached Springville High's girls tennis team. And people would always say, oh, which one is your daughter? And I said, I don't have a daughter. And they're like, well, why are you doing this? I said, because I think it's the right thing to do. I want to give back to my community. And I felt like a part of the community while I was doing that. I get to know different families in the community, and you see them around, and your network grows, and your influence grows. And sometimes it might be you might want to learn how to scuba dive. Well, go learn how to scuba dive. Stretch yourself. Get rid of the excuses that you have for not doing things. Get out there, be a part of the community, join city council, join the school board. Take your spouse and go to a cooking class at the community center. Whatever it is, get out there and be a part of your community. I don't think that the Lord wants us to go to work and go home and build a wall around our family and say, man, look how bad the world's getting out there. I think he wants us to go out there and let our light shine and be a part of things. This whole social distancing has probably shown you that you miss the interaction with people. Just being so isolated feels like you have less of an impact, maybe more on your own family, but less on the community. Be in the community, and stretch yourself. It does provide balance. You might think, well, I've got church over here and I've got work over here and I got family and I'm just here all the time. Well, sometimes get over here. Take a step out and say, you know what? I'm going to go do this for an hour or two a week, or I'm going to go take over here. And then when I come back, I can look at these other things more clearly. And even though you're adding things, it will actually balance you more. And so I would encourage you throughout your career to stretch yourself. Do different stretch assignments, and give your spouse the opportunity to do stretch assignments, especially you husbands. If your wife's at home with the kids all the time, get her out of the house. Say, hey, I've got the kids tonight. You go do whatever you want. You go take this class, or you go do this activity, and give them that chance as well. And so I think it's important to be able to do that. And you need to take away excuses to not do things. There's always excuses why we're not doing some of these stretch assignments. And I think if you take away excuses, miracles happen. I have an example. When I was in the bishopric in Colorado, I had a young woman in our ward. Her mother was active, but her father wasn't a member. And I just asked her one time, I said, are you going to seminary? And she says, no. And I said, well, why not? She's like, well, I didn't go last year. And I said, well, that's okay. You can still go. And she says, well, it's early. Okay, you can sleep. What do you mean? I said, well, if you go, you can sleep. And if your seminary teacher says anything, you tell him and I'll go talk to him. And then she's like, well, I don't have a ride. And I pointed to another girl. I said, she'll take you. The girl's like, okay. And so I took away all of her excuses. And then I just told her, I said, listen, if you go to seminary all semester, I'll throw you and your friends a pizza party or something. And she ended up going to seminary all that semester. And then later that summer, we had a party, and she said, oh, for the first semester in my life, I got straight A's. I said, what? She's like, I know, I went to seminary. But more than that, that young woman now has been married in the temple and has 2 little kids and set her life in a right pattern. And to me, it was because we took away those excuses. And I think that's important, is to take away our own excuses in our lives, to just go out and do things. Number 9, know what you value most in life. Set aside time to do what's important. Um, do you spend most of your time on people and things that you value most? Remember, contrary to popular belief, it's not all about the Benjamins. It's not about the money. The sooner you learn that, the better off in life you're going to be. Number 10, come what may and love it. Situation we're in right now is probably a good example of that. The way we react to adversity can be a major factor in our happiness. If you fall, pick yourself up, get going, look for opportunities to learn from trials. You are going to have them. I promise you, you're going to have some trials, and some of them are going to knock you down so hard that you don't know how you're going to get back up. Have a good attitude and stick with it. Love the experiences that you're getting. Trust our Heavenly Father that He's going to take care of you in that. Because you are going to have trials and you're going to have struggles. Number 11 is enjoy yourself. In every situation or circumstance in which you find yourself, take the time to smell the flowers and enjoy life. Be a happy person. Happiness is contagious. Be happy. It's a lot more fun to laugh than be happy. Number 12 is leave evidence. We talked a lot about documentation on projects, but you also leave evidence in who you are everywhere you go, whether it's online or in person or in private. Be who you say you are going to be. And if you're accused of being a follower of Christ, let there be enough evidence to convict you. It takes years to build a reputation and just a minute to destroy it. Think about that, right? Leave evidence of who you are in everything that you do. Number 13 is something that I really, really try and live by. It's not about you, but it is for you. I kind of got that from my mission president a few years ago. It was much longer after my mission. I was just over at his house one time, and we asked, well, President, is there anything that you would leave us with, any advice? And he said, yeah, it's not about you, but it is for you. And he said, think on that for a while. And over the years, I've thought a lot about that. Whether it's in the gospel or whether it's in your marriage or in your friendships or whatever it is, it's not about you. When you figure that out, your perspective will change, your life will change. When you figure it's about other people and you start worrying more about how you can help them than how things are going to benefit you, your whole perspective changes. And I think it's an important principle to live by. And you understand that there's things that happen that you need to just give up of yourself for others. I remember one time I was in a ward with a friend of mine, and we were doing this spring sing thing, and we were in the dorms here at BYU, and we were down and the ward was practicing, and kind of a road show type thing. And he's like, this is stupid, I'm out of here. And I was like, no, I think you need to stay. He's like, no, this is dumb, I'm leaving. And I kind of got mad at him as he left. And then a few minutes later, I went up to his room and I said, hey, listen, I'm sorry. And he's like, no, it was my fault. And I just said, I just kind of told him, I said, listen, this activity might not be for you. But maybe somebody needs you there. Maybe because you're there, somebody else has the spiritual experience that they need from this activity and that their testimony strengthened. And to me, I really believe that, whether it's a family home evening activity in a singles ward or whether it's a meeting that's optional or a state conference meeting, it's not about you. I don't care if you want to go or not. Be where you should be. because maybe somebody else needs you there. And I teach that to my youth all the time that I work with, that this activity might not be for you, but because you're here, somebody else is going to be blessed. And when you figure that out and you can have that attitude to say, you know what, it's not about me, but it is for you, you'll be blessed. As you turn your life over to serving others, you will be blessed. And I think that's really important. And the last thought I want to share with you for this semester is, it's a poem that my dad used to say in all of his sacrament talks that I ever heard him give growing up. And it's the only poem that I know. And it says, I met a stranger in the night whose light had ceased to shine. I paused and lit his light from mine. And then a tempest came and blew the world about. And when the wind had ceased to blow, I saw my light was out. Then back again the stranger came. His lamp was glowing fine. He paused, and then he lighted mine. I want to thank you guys for the many times that I've had my light lit by you. I'm so grateful to be able to teach at BYU, to interact with students of your caliber, and to receive the blessings of working in a place where people are willing to help one another. There's many times where your lights are going to go out and that you're going to struggle. Just know there's always somebody there that will come and light your light. Again, I'm grateful for having mine lit by many of you. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to teach at this university, where I can share my testimony of the Savior with you. I know He loves you. I can see it and I can feel it. And I hope that you know that you are loved. And that as we go through troubles and trials, we are not alone. And we don't have to do things alone, but we can be blessed. And I hope that you will remember some things that you learned today. And that you can know that I do have a testimony of our Savior. And that I've enjoyed being your teacher, and I enjoy the opportunity to mingle with you. And I'll leave that with you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.